good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the day you're watching this new episode of Data-Driven Formula One. Or better said, bonjour, because we will speak about the French driver Alain Prost, nicknamed the Professor. Not only we speak about him as the driver, but also we will speak of him later as the team manager, Team Prost. So that's the topic. Hope you like it, and let's dive in. Welcome to Data-Driven Formula One, Alain Prost. As always, a short profile. Full name is Alain-Marie Pascal Prost, and he's a French retired racing driver and Formula One team owner, a four-time Formula One drivers champion. From 1987 until 2001, he held the record for most Grand Prix victories, until Michael Schumacher surpassed Prost's total of 51 victories at the 2001 Belgian Grand Prix. Born February 24 in 1955 in Lorette-Loire, France, he drove for McLaren, Renault, Ferrari and Williams, so really four top teams. And then something which made him unique because he started directly at a top team, McLaren. From there went to Renault, to Ferrari, and then to Williams. So he never drove for a mid-sized team or even a team which you find normally at the end of the race. 202 entries, 51 victories. Impressive. You don't have to be a good mathematician. If you see, it's practically 25% of the races he won, and due to this, 4 championships for him. Early life before Formula One, Alain Prost entered the world in the commune of Lorette, nestled near the town of Saint-Chamond, situated in the Departement of Loire, close to Saint-Étienne in France. He was born to André Prost and Marie-Rosée Karatachian, both of whom hailed from France with Armenian heritage. During his formative years, Prost exhibited a fervent passion for physical activity, engaging in a variety of sports such as wrestling, roller skating, and football. His enthusiastic participation led to several instances of breaking his nose, but of course is still quite visible if you saw him on the photo or on all video footage. I mean, his nose is quite unique. Prior to discovering his true calling, Prost contemplated career paths as diverse as becoming a gym instructor or pursuing professional football. However, it was during a family vacation at the age of 14 that he stumbled upon kart racing, igniting a newfound passion that would ultimately shape his career trajectory. He entered pre-Formula One, 1974. So in the age of 19, he left school to become a full-time racer. Not unusual, age of 19. Already 1 year later, title at the French Senior Kart Championship. Then 1 year later, 76, title French Formula Renault Championship. 77, title European Formula Renault Championship. Then he drove Formula 3, and 79 title French and European Formula 3 Championship. So since beginning, quite successful. He started his career in 1980 at McLaren, scored 1 point at his debut in Buenos Aires. Nevertheless, his first year wasn't really that successful, and due to various technical problems, lack of success, also he decided to leave after only 1 year. If you follow this episode on YouTube Music or Spotify video, you see this gorgeous 1980 McLaren, still reminding to the more brutal 70s designed open engine. I mean, something which the design would change quite fast in the next years. So this still looks like a car from today's point, important to understand, which have been built together in a garage, so to say. But of course, Marlboro McLaren was already a quite established and successful team at the time, having only some years earlier won the championship. And then 81 to 83, he joined the French Renault team, which I think is valid for most of the teams. He had a difficult relationship with his teammate René Arnoux, something which we would see later, of course, with his relation with Ayrton Senna, but also with Nigel Mansell. I think it's fair to say Alain Prost was, as a driver, never a big team player, using his ability for politics to create a good relation with the team owner, team manager, also good relations with the motorsports politicians, so to say, as for example, it was accused by Ayrton Senna later. So he was very good in relationship building with the key players in and outside the team, and less known as a good or easy teammate for the other driver in the team. And this we see since the beginning in 81, as his relationship, as said, with René Arnoux wasn't that good. By the way, the photo you see here, I took in France in the Technology Museum. Unfortunately, in Paris, there is no motorsports or Renault museum. So the only Formula One car, there are two Formula One cars you can see. Both Renaults, one like this in the Technology Museum. If you are in Paris, it's near the famous metro station, which looks like the Nautilus. The other Formula One car is in Formula One themed cafe or restaurant hanging on the ceiling. But this is a newer Renault. So this is the one from the 80s, driven by Alain Prost. First victory at the French Grand Prix, and after this, he said, before you thought you could do it, now you know you can. And of course, this is a very important psychological effect, which makes you calm down, maybe leading to less errors in driving, less nervous, because you know you had one already Grand Prix. And then it's easier to repeat this, same with winning the first championship, and then later the second, third, or fourth championship. When I went to Renault, the journalists wrote good things about me, but by 1982, I had become the bad guy. I think, to be honest, I had made the mistake of winning. The French don't like winners. I'm not French myself, so I can't really judge it, if this is true or not. But before this, I would have thought this is something he would have thought more about Germany, even though this changed, of course, with Michael Schumacher, who became the big national hero in Germany. At final race of the 87 season, Prost said to ESPN that his car was not competitive and that didn't lose by my own fault. As direct consequence, Renault fired him, something which would repeat in his career, as he was quite openly criticizing the car outside the team, which in most of the cases is not really appreciated by the team and the team management. So first time he got fired was at Renault. From there, 84 to 88, he returned to McLaren. And the first championship, he lost famously half a point to Niki Lauda. Alain Prost was practically the faster driver, but Niki Lauda was much more experienced and know where to get the point, where to drive 100% or 90% to get sufficient points to win the championship, something which would Alain Prost practice in his later years, and that's one of the reasons why he was called the professor. After 84, Niki Lauda retired the second time, and now Alain Prost won the championship 85 and 86, being maybe the best driver in the best car. With Jenner joining McLaren in 88 began his infamous rivalry. Prost expressed his perception that Honda preferred the Brazilian, where he could have a point, while maybe the McLaren management clearly, I take back, they preferred Alain Prost. Honda, the engine provider, may have preferred Ayrton Senna, as he had a quite good relation with Soichiro Honda, the Honda founder, and who had been impressed by Senna, his driving skill, but also his mindset, who have been very much aligned with his own, including having a dream, following the dream, doing everything for the dream, which had been quite aligned with Soichiro Honda's vision, Japanese philosophy, and that's why Ayrton Senna became a big star in Japan, the first Japanese Formula One star, or better said, the first Formula One star in Japan. Now we speak about 89. Prost accused Senna of dangerous driving, while the Brazilian countered that he was the pocket of Jean-Marie Balestre, the head of FIA, if I'm correct and not mixing up the organization. As I said, Alain Prost was very good with relationship building with important people. So Ayrton Senna was always a very direct person and never cared about relationship building inside the sport. Maybe a weakness of him, you may say. Before the San Marino Grand Prix, both agreed that there should be no overtaking before the first turn. Nevertheless, Senna broke this at the restart and later defined existence of this agreement. Prost claimed that Ron Dennis and Honda would prefer Senna now, so now his fortune at McLaren may have changed to his perception, and also McLaren team seem to go with Senna, who was the coming driver, slightly younger than Prost, and mostly perceived as the faster of the one, with the disadvantage sometimes driving always at the limits, sometimes driving over the limit, which leads mathematically to accidents or technical problems of the car. Due to this, he announced in July that he would join Ferrari. I guess most people know the story about the Japanese Grand Prix in 1989. During this race, as Prost initiated braking for the corner, Senna made a daring move alongside. However, Prost, aware of Senna's attempt through his mirror, swiftly maneuvered his car to obstruct Senna's path. Despite prior agreements to leave the room, Prost opted to defend vigorously. The refusal to yield resulted in a collision just before the turn's apex, causing both cars to skid to a stop at the partially obstructed chicane escape road. Senna restarted his car, overtook Nannini in the Benetton, and won despite damage. Nevertheless, post-race, Senna was disqualified, sparking controversy over alleged bias. Again, a decision may have approved, requested by Jean-Marie Balestre, as claimed by Senna, because he claimed, as claimed by Senna, would be favoring Prost. And this race, only 11 cars finished due to high attrition, and this became Alessandro Nannini's only victory in Formula One. So, Prost's time at McLaren ended, and 1990 started with Ferrari. He was the first driver to sign after death of Enzo Ferrari. The last one still signed with Enzo in the decision-making process, because being alive was Nigel Mansell. Here on the photo, we see Alain Prost in his new Ferrari. I think it's practice or qualifying at the US race, the very first race. So this was really Alain Prost before the season started. It didn't. It was surprisingly successful in the beginning. Nevertheless, as we know, he would lose at the end against Ayrton Senna. Again, you may say Senna was the faster driver, and also the McLaren, the more reliable, faster car. At the 1990, Prost requested to secretly swap the car with his driver, with his colleague Nigel Mansell, as it was said that Prost perceived Mansell's setup better than what he could do on his car, so he should have agreed with the Ferrari team to secretly swap the cars. That's the rumor, of course, claimed also by Nigel Mansell. At the Japanese Grand Prix, Senna drove then intentionally into Prost to ensure his title. A little bit different scenario than the year before. It wasn't 100% deciding the championship for Senna. It only destroyed Alain Prost still theoretical chances to win the championship. So a little bit different than the year before. Due to the difficult relationship with Prost, Mansell rejoined Williams in 1991. So again, no good relationship with the other driver, as we saw from the earlier years. Then 1 year later, the Ferrari car had not been competitive, and Prost criticized car and team. And due to this, he was fired inside the season. Important to know, this is the general understanding why it happened. It was never officially confirmed, not by Alain Prost nor by the Ferrari team. So it was never officially stated why Alain Prost had to leave before the end of the season, but it's quite, I think, a good theory that it was because of Alain Prost's public criticism of the Ferrari car. So the same situation as there had been earlier at Renault. Even if he did then some pre-testing for Ligier, Prost preferred to not drive in 92 because his idea was better do not drive at all instead of driving in a second-class team. And clearly Ligier was not on the level to compete for race wins or championship. To not be in one team with Prost again, Mansell left Williams before the 93 season because Williams signed Prost for to drive in 93. Interesting is that due to contract, it was not allowed for Ayrton Senna to join Williams while Prost had been there in 93. As this clause was not protecting him for the next year, he directly retired after winning the title for Williams Renault in 93, and that's why 93 was his successful last year as a Formula One driver. So here a little bit statistics, the results. 1980, 5 points, 16th, quite good year for McLaren, even though being at the team as McLaren, it was not that spectacular. Then driving for the French Renault team, first, fifth, fourth, and then second place in the championship. From there, going to McLaren, where again he became second, and then finally first championship in 85 for McLaren TAC, the Porsche engineered engine. He repeated this in 86. Then slowly the dominance of the tug engine climbed, and only fourth place in 87. McLaren switched to Honda engines, 88 first, a second place, and then finally championship with McLaren Honda in 89. And from there to Ferrari, quite strong second place in the championship in 1990, a fifth only in 91, but also considering he did not finish the season. From there, 1 year outside and return 93, winning championship with Williams Renault, 99 points, first place for Alain Prost, his fourth championship. Even though, from my personal perception, and of course I might be biased, if I think of Alain Prost, I think of him in a McLaren in the classic Marlboro livery. So that's my personally image of Alain Prost in Formula One, even though he really had been at 4 top teams. After retiring as a driver, he stayed in around Formula One. Even his relationship with Ayrton Senna went from enemies to a normal relationship. I wouldn't say friendship, but I mean, it became quite normal. Why? We discussed this a little bit in the episode Being Ayrton Senna, speaking about psychology, what made Senna, and so on. So if you're interested in this, check out this episode. So now we speak about the Prost Grand Prix team. Alain Prost had the first idea to found a team back in 89 already, together with Jean Bernard, the famous designer. He tried in 1919, but had to abandon the idea due to missing budget. 1990, the world was not in such a good condition, so in a slight economic crisis, which of course also affected the budget of Formula One teams. Then he tried again in 1992, being a driver and owner of the Ligier team, which famously also not worked out. Then finally, 1997, Prost bought Ligier from Flavio Briatore, a person I think which we also have to speak about in one episode one day. So now Prost bought the very well-known, famous, all-French team Ligier, and at least did not kept the name, but at least kept the dark blue colors. The team had been around for 5 seasons, started first in 97 with Prost Mugen, the non-works Honda engine. Drivers had been Olivier Panis, Jarno Trulli, also Shinji Nakano. 21 points and 6th position in the championship, which is, if I remember it correctly, pretty much where Ligier left off, so somewhere in the midfield of Formula One. Same as Ligier, Prost stayed practically an all-French team, French dark blue livery, and now the new Peugeot engine. This had been the Prost Peugeot AP01. Driver Olivier Panis, the French, paired with Italian Jarno Trulli. Maybe not surprising for having a new engine. On the other hand, surprising, yes, because Peugeot was dominating the Group C, successful at Le Mans, etc. So you may have hoped for better results, but no, just 1 point, and with this disappointing 9th position for Prost Peugeot in the championship. Only next year, only a little bit better now, 9 points, but still only 7th in the championship, something which Peugeot may have planned differently for their entrance into Formula One. 2000, Prost Peugeot AP03, French driver Jean Alesi replacing Olivier Panis, and the German talent Nick Heidfeld replaced Jarno Trulli, and results disaster 0 points. Last year in the championship, now with the new main sponsor Acer, the Prost Acer AP04 with Jean Alesi still number one. The another German talent, Heinz Harald Frentzen. If you're interested here, check out our episode called Silver Arrow number 2, where we discussed the Mercedes-Benz junior team and how they came into Formula One. Also, other drivers had been Gaston Massacane, Luciano Burti, and Thomas Enge. So you see, if you had 5 drivers in one season, this normally means that you're financially struggling and that you're not in a healthy position. And yes, only 4 points and a 9th position for Prost. So this was the last year. And Alain Prost later concluded that his Formula One team was practically the biggest mistake he made related to Formula One. So quite clearly, he wasn't happy how this worked out, as he maybe thought that at least he would have stayed on the level where Ligier had been, or bringing Ligier up to the top where they had been, for example, in the 1970s. At the end, as always, let's check out some quotes from the man himself. In fact, the first one is not from him, but about him. From Ayrton Senna, a special hello to our dear friend Alain. We all miss you, Alain. As I said, as Alain Prost left Formula One, Senna perceived him differently, not as an enemy anymore, but as a colleague. I wouldn't think he really understood him that much as a friend, but on the other hand, they spent a lot of time together, so maybe he now had even a positive image of Prost. And that's why later Prost said, after reflecting on Senna's death, a part of myself had died also. So even if Prost never perceived Senna in his time really as a friend, more like an enemy, somebody he constantly was fighting against, he understood that this relationship with Senna was part of himself, and I really believe him. And you may remember or know, Alain Prost also went to Senna's funeral in Sao Paulo, even carrying the tomb where he was inside. Another big part of my success is that I hated not finish a race, and that's why what maybe relates to his nickname, the professor. He was really good understanding how the car worked in the race, if he could push it to the limit, or if he had to drive a little bit slower, maybe only 90%, maybe not winning the race, but getting relevant points, while if he would stay driving 100%, he would trigger a technical problem and not finish the race at all. I'm brave to say that I won't take this sort of risk. Again, if not necessary, he didn't drove at the limit, and especially not over the limit as other drivers. People don't understand that it was maybe my biggest pleasure to drive a Formula One car when it's wet. This is also important for him to clarify, because even though we perceive him as a very controlled person, more introvert than extrovert, the professor, like calculating how to win a race. But yes, he also had fun driving Formula One car. He really enjoyed being behind the wheel inside the race. So it was not only this cold, calculating character, but even if you maybe not perceived it that much as from other drivers, he really enjoyed what he was doing. And that's why we call him the professor. Because of his highly methodical, strategic, and cerebral approach to racing rather than an all-out emotional style, for example, as we saw with Ayrton Senna, he became known for treating Grand Prix like complex problems to be solved rather than battles to be fought flat out, meaning he was thinking championship, not thinking I have to win every race. Important for him, precision and consistency. Prost was known for his smooth, controlled driving style, rarely making mistakes, and always optimizing his car's performance over a race distance. He prioritized consistency and finishing races over reckless speed. Tactical brilliance. He excelled at managing tires, fuel, and racing strategy, often outsmarting rivals by calculating risks and opportunity. His ability to race win with his head set him apart from more aggressive drivers. And here I might include that he was very good with building a relationship, doing politics, even though you must also say he was practically 2 times fired from a team, which speaks a little bit against his strategical brilliance, or maybe he already had known where his seat was in the next year, where he wanted to be. So you may argue that he provoked a little bit getting fired. I mean, this is really up to you how to conclude this. Adaptability, another important point. Prost could adapt to different cars and conditions using his deep understanding of racing dynamics to his advantage. This intellectual approach earned him respect as a master tactician, called a professor. And of course, we have to speak here also about the rivalry with Ayrton Senna. The contrast with Ayrton Senna, his fiercely and emotional-driven rival, further cemented the nickname. While Senna has seen as a passionate artist, Prost was the methodical professor of the track. So practically 2 complete sides of a medal of a Formula One driver. And that's so even though if Prost was this one side, he may understood that Senna, his relation with Senna somehow also had been a part of him, because even if he himself was not the artist, being in a team with Senna, he somehow got the reflection, the shadow of an artist on himself, and the fatal accident of Senna had been as losing some part of yourself, as you may understand it from a more philosophical point. Okay, that was a little bit our deep dive on Ayrton Senna. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you agree with our conclusions, maybe not. You're always free to comment under the video. If you like it, give it a like, and hopefully also follow our podcast. If you do so, you get an automatic message when our next episode is published. Maybe you like to look a little bit which videos there are already around. We started 1950, are now in the 90s, and of course the idea is to continue to today's day. All videos are available YouTube, Spotify, YouTube Music, and as audio-only version in practically all podcast catchers. So thanks a lot for your time staying with me, and see and hear you next time. Bye-bye.